One, two. Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, excuse me. I'm the nurse at Ask the Nurse Zoom at uh, Henry Street Senior Services. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of diets. Now, it's not every single diet that we have out there, but I just want to give the highlights of some of them. Um, the reason I'm bringing it up is because many people, especially now that we all been at home, in the quarantine, some people have talked to me about having gained weight. And there's some other ways you can do it. Again, I don't promote any of these. I think all food's good. There are no bad foods. I just want more people to, I guess, get an idea what's out there, and also if they have any questions, they can ask. Because there's not necessarily anything necessarily bad about any of these diets. Some of them are very restrictive, other ones are different. So I'll start. The first one on my list is called the Blue Zone. It's not used as often anymore, but it's a diet uh, based on studies of the people from parts of the world who have the most centenarians, or people who live to be 100. The cities are Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Ikarla, I'm sorry, and Greece. Um, and a community of Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. So the best way of these Blue Sun is that this plan pretty much advocates for a mostly plant-based diet with more moderate portions of beans and limited sweets. So decrease the sugar, more plant-based protein, and mostly plants. And the second one is called the Mediterranean diet. This is a basic eating plan favored in the last two of those blue zones, in Sardinia, Italy, and Icaria, Greece. They both have lots of scientific studies done and backing up the effectiveness of everything um, that has to do with either gaining extra pounds, and how it helps with heart disease and even cognitive decline, or rather, some of the diets can decrease the onset of dementia or in people. Uh, the best way to think of this diet is usually unsaturated fats, and then they usually come from nuts and olive oil. Eat lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of whole grains. Actually, a reduced amount of red meats, reduce salt, um, and every now and then take a glass of red wine. Now, if you're not a drinker, um, some of the grape juices have the same um, um benefits as wine without the alcohol. The paleo diet. The paleo diet is based on the idea that our food production system evolved faster than our guts. People in this hunter-gatherer inspired excuse me, it's basically hunter-gatherer and plant eating for protein, non-starchy vegetables, and monosaturated fats, and skip anything that's cultivated since the dawn of agriculture. So anything that is mass-produced, like wheat, corn, rice, it's out of the diet. It is pretty restrictive. And healthy choices like dairy, beans, legumes, beans, peas, whole grains, potatoes. Uh, the paleo diet does wisely encourage people to eat fewer processed foods and pile more leafy greens on their plate. The gluten-free diets. This is a medical necessity for those with an autoimmune condition uh, called celiac disease. Those with a gluten intolerance may also feel better if they avoid wheat, rye, and barley. Gluten is the main protein within them, so you can't really take it away as what gives it its nutritional value. Best takeaway is even those not on doctor's orders to strictly scrutinize food labels for gluten could probably benefit from reading the ingredients list more closely and understand what they're ingesting. If you have any questions of celiac disease and how it affects you, you can give me a call at 347-563-1615, and we can talk more about that. And or you can email me at aespino, aespino @henrystreet.org. The juice cleanses. If you're committed to a cleanse and you'll spend a few days to a few weeks consuming only liquids. With the expensive glasses bottles hand deliver from your organic juicery or do it yourself. Um, some of you may be familiar with the lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup concoction that sustains those in the master cleanse. The idea for this is that research might help some people psychologically. A caveat, however, there's little evidence the body's natural filtration system requires time off from solid food to work properly. In some cases, studies have reported hazardous side effects from only ingesting liquids. So just be aware of it. Um, that it can prolong that the body doesn't really need a break. Basically, the body is pretty amazing. It can really do a lot of things. One of the other ones I have is the Whole 30. Uh, it usually starts with a super restrictive month of eliminating foods like sugars, legumes, grains, and dairy, which commonly cause allergies and digestive disruptions. And they usually and by restrictive they really mean not even a dash of cream and coffee or a lick of ice cream. It's very restrictive at the beginning, and then the idea is to then gradually add them back, each one to test each one for the body's reaction. So many people who may not know that one other thing like dairy intolerant, they could have thought it was something else. If you take dairy away, you put it back, and people develop some of those symptoms, then you have a good explanation of that it may be the dairy cause. The DASH diet. It's another diet. Actually, it's been around, and it had a lot of um, promotion, especially since it started in the I think late 70s. It initially was developed to banish to banish high blood pressure. The name tends to dietary. Excuse me again. The name stands for Dietary Approaches to Type Hypertension (DASH). And for a trial, it was published in 1997. This plan has survived the passage of time with follow-up studies showing benefits for weight loss, high cholesterol, heart disease, and both prevention and control of diabetes. So there is some benefits to the DASH diet. Um, it's pretty simple. It does include limiting sodium and saturated fats. Uh, and while you try to increase your fruits, vegetables, whole grains, in very moderate amounts of meat and diet and dairy. Again, it's probably like one of the other ones, like the Blue Zone and in the um, hunter-gatherer diet, the paleo. Clean eating. It's another way that people are dieting and changing their eating habits. This term represents not a single diet, but a frequently and it's frequently debated and it is somewhat judgmental. Somebody else wrote this part of it, but I think I kind of agree. It is judgmental. It talks uh, about eating whole foods, it focuses on the opposite of dining dirty, which is kind of judgmental, and I don't like judgments. I myself, in my nursing theories, in practice, I don't believe any foods are bad. It's usually the quantities, the amounts, and when we're not aware of when we are sensitive to some of the ingredients in the food that we eat that we can cause problems and problems like weight gain or even extreme weight loss, which what happens to people with um, celiac disease who need to go on gluten-free diets. It, um, it tends to they're not able to absorbing nutrients. Back to clean eating, uh, and there's the other underlying premise that any processed food, so if it is really what's causing the problem. So anything that comes in a bag, in a box, uh, then it's probably not something, excuse me, that you want, is something that you want to avoid. And also you want people who use this also take it into considering how the foods impact the environment. Um, and again, so it's again promoting in a way, um, more plant-based diets, also nothing processed. So again, no Twinkies, no potato chips, nothing that's been through a factory and has been bagged or boxed to you, or us. The next one is the ketogenic diet, or keto diet. It it's very strict and it limits carbohydrates or carbohydrate intake. Excuse me, and it often is less than 50 grams per day. Now, the usual amount for carbohydrates, it's about uh, excuse me, 45 per meal. So if you have 3 meals, 2 meals, you can keep to that, but basically you cut down the carbohydrates. Uh, and and that's about in 50 grams of carbohydrates, about like a small apple or bagel, a single slice of the bagel, and there. So this diet forces you to go into ketosis, in which the liver produces compounds called ketones that serve as a tentative energy source for to sugars. So the body uses uh, they just said it shouldn't have um, that it should have no or very little impact or no detrimental effects in our heart health. Um, and so ketogenic diet, what's the best thing? Um, you have to track your meals, uh, and the snacks that keto requires can bring eating awareness. And so basically anything with fats, proteins. Um, so as opposed to like eating, example, you can't eat a potato chip, but you can eat a pork rind. If for those people who, if you know what they are, it's basically pork skin that's been fried in fat. um, and So that's actually a ketogenic snack. The pork rind as opposed to the potato chip. So you want high fats when you do coconut oils added to the diets, and, and certainly any kind of meat. Uh, the next one is the intermittent fasting. That's actually pretty popular. It's been around forever, and actually is part of many people's lifestyles. Um, and religious practices, at least, and it goes back as far as biblical times. I remember hearing about that back then. In some is in some instances it could be very restrictive. And so for some people, only eating every other day. Um, and some people eat only after a certain time, or after like a certain time they no longer eat, and or they can do it for it varies. It really depends on the person. um, I had it Some of the benefits of it actually are, like, it kind of helps us avoid what we a lot of people call mindless eating. So, when we're sitting around, we want to see a TV show, listen to a Zoom cast. We want to munch on something. So it actually it makes us be more mindful while we're eating, um, and or how we consume and what we consume throughout the day. So if your diet, if you decided to like not eat beyond 6 in the evening, then you're more aware, like, when you're eating, what you're doing, and actually avoid temptation that way. And excuse me, I don't like temptation because it kind of connotates that it's bad. Again, nothing's bad. It's just to be mindful. Um, Food, it's important. Food has a lot of cultural issues attached to it, personal issues, emotional issues, and we need it to survive and live. I mean, so it's certainly something that is in the forefront of most of us uh, mind um, for most of the days, for most every day. But there are ways of doing it so that whatever we do can actually help us live longer, live healthier, improve some of the perhaps not so healthy choices we made when we're younger. Uh, and take away some maladies we didn't know we had before. I use myself as an example. I'm actually gluten sensitive. I'm not celiac because I wasn't really born with it. Also, I don't have all the markers for it. But at the end of the day, gluten does the same effect on my body. Uh, Before I knew I was allergic to it, and actually I was eating one of my favorite things was bread, but I couldn't find out why I was losing weight and why I was feeling tired and without energy most of the time. And it's because, long story short, it was the gluten. Once I stopped that, I gained a little more weight. I felt had energy. I could sleep. It really changed my life. But if it hadn't been for some trial and error in trying different diets, actually, I would have probably not known that there are tests, and you can find out sooner. But if you're like me and don't want to run to the doctor every single time and want to figure out by yourself, then it does take a little longer. I actually could have gone to the doctor, being tested, and the test is IgG, uh, and it takes it tests our immune system, and it is an autoimmune type issue. So if you feel like you have kind of issue like that, next time you go to your medical doctor, you can ask them if you GG. We continue doing this every week. That I do sometimes repeat the topics on pardon me, on Tuesday mornings in Spanish. If you have any questions, comments, and or any topic that you're interested in for me to cover, uh, please contact me through Henry Street Settlement at my email at henrystreet.org. See you. Be a surprise. Have a good evening. Hello.